Hey everyone, it's Caleb with Antique Book Collective, and today I'm going to be bringing to you guys how to list antique books on eBay, and this is going to be the easy way, because there is a hard way that is a little bit more work, but without further ado, I'm just going to dive right on in. Alright, so if you're new or not, you can see clearly that I'm on the eBay website right now, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be listing this particular book right here, this nice little red one right here. On the spine it says the Rommel Papers. For those of you that are history nerds like me, you know that Rommel was in World War II. He was one of the most legendary commanders of World War II and of history in general, so that's one of the reasons why I got this book. Admittedly, I'm not going to be getting the whole 25 to 35 minimum that I normally shoot for. Generally, it's 35 I shoot for. I'm not going to be getting quite that much, but I was willing to do that because I was really excited about this book because I really like this book, and I picked it up for like $1 or 50 cents. I can't remember exactly. Down in a city called McMinnville, so I was more than happy. So first thing that you do, this is what you'll be doing if you're listing the book or if you're just looking for it while you're shopping for your book, is you type in, first off, the title. So this is The Rommel Papers. You don't have to capitalize, so I'm not going to because I'm lazy, but The Rommel Papers, there we go. As you can see, I already typed it in, so it's popping up there, but the next thing you do, if you don't know what the year is, which you probably won't if you're looking at it for your first time, is you're going to have to go to generally with the older books, they have it on this page here, the title page. Let's see, that should be good enough for you guys to see. And as you can see at the bottom, it says 1953. This is not always the best way to do it, but it's the way you have to do it. If on the next page, which is the copyright page, if it doesn't have what the year is that it was printed. So this one, it does not have that year, which means that this is indeed printed in 1953, and it's not listed as a first edition, but it actually is a first edition because it doesn't say there are any other printings. These are just things that you're going to have to learn as time goes on, and as you might know, first editions do have a lot more value, so that's one of the reasons why I picked up this book. It was also first edition, and again, it was Rommel, so I was excited because he's a total gangster. So let me just type on in 1953 right there. And as you can see, front and center is the one that I already clicked to just check things out for the video. This is basically what I will be listing the book as, is this one, but that's not what you're really supposed to do. You're supposed to check out all the other offers out there. So someone has the same book. They don't have the red one like I have, so this red one was printed in the UK, so I'm guessing maybe this gray one. You can see gray peeking through right there. And then it has a dust jacket. Mine does not have a dust jacket, which generally hurts the value. Actually, not generally. Like every single time it hurts the value to not have the dust jacket. So if you can find a dust jacket for a book, you can get it. There's actually places that sell dust jackets for books, which I thought was absolutely crazy. But you can get that if you want to see if you can increase the price of your book enough. As you can see, these have the dust jackets, and it didn't make their book any more valuable than this one. So that's something to keep in mind. Here's a bigger picture of the gray one. Again, mine's red because it was the UK. Here's another version of mine. So this is $39.99 plus shipping, which actually would put this book into the whole safe zone for what I try to shoot for book prices. I'm probably going to end up undercutting all these people just because I want it to sell, but we'll see. So going down a little further, you can see this one here is $72, which is crazy. 25, 12, and by now we're getting into the paperback version, which, let me just look. It doesn't say it's anything new, so I guess this was a early edition as well, first edition actually, which is interesting, but just going to keep on scrolling, going through really quick. Here's another red one like mine. Looks like the same exact thing, $48, so in theory I could be getting up to $50 for this. This person's asking for $27.20. As you can see here though, it says it's shipping from the UK. Personally, I don't do international shipping when I list my books because it's just such a hassle to do. There's a lot of paperwork you have to do, and the cost, as you can see here, shipping from the UK, it's more than the book. So that is definitely something you want to keep in mind, is shipping can be out of the wazoo. Sometimes people will like finagle their way in to see your book on the US store, even though they're buying somewhere else. So you do need to be a little wary of that. Just going to scroll a little further. Wow, this book is really expensive. As you can see, it's signed. If you can find a signed first edition, that's like one of the coolest things ever. The most expensive one I've ever seen, not in person, but I've seen on eBay, was someone had a signed edition of Think and Grow Rich. It's a popular book, and they were asking for $30,000. So that's the most expensive signed book I've ever seen, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, just That's that. I'm just going to cut my search there short. I think that was actually the whole thing, but just going back up to the one that I already selected. So clicking that, as you can see here, you just select the option that is most like yours. This person's book is a lot like mine. They have similar, little bit of wear and tear. I think mine might actually be a little bit better off than theirs, but my binding is not as good as it could be. So I'm going to actually say this is probably perfect of what mine is. So as you can see, you have buy it now, add to cart, that sort of stuff. But beneath the thing, right down here, have one to sell, sell now. And that's what you want to do. You click that. And when you click that, it basically takes all the information that this person already put in the time to put into their stuff, and it copies it on over to your stuff. Sorry. So as you can see here, the title is this. You always want to reread through the title, make sure everything's correct, because sometimes people do make mistakes on their stuff. So it looks like that is correct for that. So as I've said before, I'm doing this with my mom, and she actually took one of these titles from something else, and it was an incorrect title, so I actually had some people getting angry at me, so whoops. Can't really be helped, but as you can see here, you can select this to pay more money, but your book is bold title. I don't really find that really does anything. I haven't ever done it, so I still get sales, and I'm happy. Subtitle, you can pay for that as well. Don't have to do that, so I don't do it. Custom label or SKU. So this is something I've actually been considering doing personally, and the SKU that I'd be wanting to do it with is maybe like how much I paid for the book, where I got it, stuff like that, because this is stuff that you should be seeing, only you. After that, check out the category. I've been caught on this a couple times, and it's not fun at all. Be sure to check that category, and be certain that it says books and magazines, and particularly also say antiquarian and collectible. So the reasoning for that is you want the books and magazines so you can take advantage of media mail. So media mail is not like normal mail. It is a lot less money. So this book to ship in normal mail, I'd say it's probably going to be 2 or 3 pounds to ship in a box. And 2 or 3 pounds is going to be like $12 or something. But shipping media mail, it's going to be like $4. So that's something you really want to do, is you can offer a lot cheaper of shipping, or if you cover your shipping yourself and have it free to the buyers, you can have it so they don't have to pay it, and then you don't have to pay as much money yourself, which is pretty stinking cool. So that's just something that you really want to do, is make sure it's books and magazines. The reason for antiquarian and collectible is if you don't do that, you have to fill out condition note. As you can see, condition's not applicable to this listing, and that's because it's antiquarian and collectible. And the reasoning for that, as I see it from the eBay standpoint, is they don't want to have it so you have to say a book is in good condition or bad condition or something like that when you're selling antiques, because antiques, I mean, there's a lot more of a story to the condition. So for this book in particular, I'll be going through the condition a little more later on. That's probably going to be the later third of the video, right near the end actually. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Condition stuff is really important, and it makes or breaks a sale. What I find is if you go and list out all the issues, if you say everything about it, like if you take the time to say what your book is about, and if you take the time to actually take pictures of your book, people like that. People really appreciate it, and people end up buying your book instead of someone else's. Sorry. So there are lots of other eBay sellers out there selling antique books and other things, and they'll take like maybe a picture of the cover. I see lots and lots of books where they don't even take a picture of the cover, and then they ask for all this money, and it's like, if I'm a buyer, I'm like, I'm not going to buy this if someone's listed everything out that I'm getting. If they've told me, oh yeah, there's a hole on this page, there's this and this and this. Like if they took the time to tell me exactly everything about the book, I know that they understand this book. I know that they know the condition. I know what I'm buying. So that is a big value add for me. And I've actually charged more than other people who don't say anything, and then I go and say everything, and I've actually gotten the sale instead of them quite a few times. So that's definitely something you guys want to keep in mind. If you aren't selling antique books, because this business model does apply to stuff other than antique books, I actually sell other stuff sometimes. My focus is antique books, but I sell other things. You can skimp on condition stuff with newer books, for sure, and for other things, for sure. I do it all the time. I still try to say more stuff than everyone else, but that's just a giant tangent for something that I should have said later, so sorry, not sorry. As you can see, though, back to categories, so antiquarian and collectible, there are other categories, lots of them. Depending on what you have, you'll want to search through those. You can choose a second category. As you can see, fees may apply. It's weird. I don't normally do it. ISBN number. does not apply because it's an antique book, but you can actually put it in as well. So next thing is condition description. So I personally don't fill this out usually, but I'm going to fill it out for this one just because it's something that you guys might want to do. The reason why I don't fill it out normally is because I fill out the condition description stuff actually down in the normal item description stuff right here. But again, that's for later on. This is just going to be a quick little summary of the condition. If you do not fill this out, eBay automatically pulls the condition description from your actual description, which I think is pretty dandy. But again, I'm just going to fill this out just for your guys' benefit. So, book is in great overall condition. All pages are accounted for and still attached to the binding. That's one way you could say it. I'm actually going to delete that and say all pages are accounted for and none are loose. That's another way that you say it. So the reason why you want to mention something like that for antique books is antique books are old, and binding, the little part right here where all the pages are attached, it doesn't always hold up. I've had books that have like a few pages here at the beginning and a few at the end that are attached, and like everything in the middle is loose. So that's something that readers and buyers really want to know about. They're like, am I buying a book that is still attached, or is it just a giant puzzle piece and there's missing pages? So that's something you definitely want to pay attention to. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is all the pages might be attached that you see, but you might be actually missing pages. So you want to, when you buy the book and when you're listing the book, you want to go through, you want to count all the page numbers, you want to skim through. As you saw right there, I just went through really quick. All the pages are there. When you do it long enough, you can keep up with it as you go by. It's sort of like bank tellers counting money. They could do it this fast, but you normally are like counting like this. So trust me, you get the hang of it, you get a lot faster. So there we go. I got a condition description there. Now onto photos. So something cool about photos is that they used to have a thing where you could download them directly from your phone. So I don't know if they killed that or if it's just hidden somewhere. They had it for a little bit and then they like murdered it. Which made me sad, but they also have an import from web thing, so you can input the URLs to your things. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is the way that I recommend you guys do it. So what I recommend is first off, you get a place where you take pictures of all your books. Like you have a nice little setting set up. So I'm just going to pause really quick and I'll put in a picture right here-ish. So that is my setup for how I take pictures of all of my books. Something I like about that is I have it consistently as this particular setup. And I actually have had buyers that look for my particular setup because they liked my books, because my condition is good, because I ship them so well, that sort of stuff. So that's how I took all my pictures. So because I took all my pictures, I took them on my phone of this book, on my phone. And because my phone is hooked up to Google, Google is able to add it to Google Photos automatically. Sometimes it takes a little bit, so you can always force it through, so you have to go on a gallery and then do that whole side of things. But I'm just going to hop on over to Google Photos really quick. So as you can see, here are the pictures of my book. I only took, let's see, that's 11 pictures. So you just got to click every single one, the little check mark, or you can click Shift and click on this one. And as you can see, that selects all of them. And then what you do is you hit the More Options, you hit Download, and then preparing to download 11 items. Gotta give it a couple seconds. Usually it's pretty quick, but when you're doing videos, it takes a little longer. So it will give it a unique name every single time you do it. So you just click on that. It's a zipped folder, so that is definitely something you want to keep in mind, is how it's a zipped folder. And then let's see. So you want to go and hit Extract All. So can I make that any bigger? I cannot. Okay. So Extract All will be in the top right-ish corner. It might be a little further to the left depending on your thing, but that's what you want to do. You want to hit Extract All, otherwise you can't move it on over into your eBay pictures. So quickly doing that. It's got it. And it should automatically open up. For me it did, so that's always a good day. I'm just going to go back to my eBay listing, so create your listing. So you can hit Add Photos. That's not the quickest way to do it, and again, this is the fastest way to do it. Usually I'm just taking so long because I'm talking you guys through it. from taking pictures all the way to listing, it normally takes me under 20 minutes. I know 20 minutes sounds like a lot of time, and that's why I have the whole minimum of $25 to $35 is because it takes time, but you could do it in a lot less time as well. I've done it in as little as maybe 5 minutes. So you highlight all the photos that you want to do, just drag them on over, and you can drop them into this, and it will automatically put them all in. As you can see, it'll say the percentage of all of them. It'll be pretty quick. I recommend waiting for all of them to load if you can. If you don't want to wait, you can always go down to the description and start writing stuff. But I recommend waiting so you can make sure that everything loads in properly, that everything looks correct. Depending on your phone, I know my old phone used to have a thing where it used to rotate all the pictures like this, and it was like, wow, that's not professional whatsoever. That's actually very annoying. So there is an entire method to my madness for how I take my pictures. So I like to take a picture of the front cover, which you can see right here. The front cover ought to be your main photo, depending on what it is. I mean, some people have their front cover as the title page, especially if it has a picture like this. This one has a picture of Rommel and whatnot, so that is something that people have done. I recommend the front cover because that's what almost everyone does. It's sort of like the industry norm. After that, I like to take a picture of the top of the spine where the title is. Let's just click to enlarge. So it doesn't have to always be the best photo. You should make it as good as you can, but this is definitely good enough. It definitely shows that it's the Rommel thing. Generally, I try to get a picture of the full spine, but this one, there wasn't anything really exciting on it. So another photo that Another photo that I like to get is top corner looking down at one angle and then at the other. And then I like to get a picture of the pages. Taking a picture like this of the pages like I did, it lets you see how the binding is. Like if you're a devout antique book person, you'll see that there's some sagging, so you'll understand what you need to understand from that. So basically you want to provide all the information people will need at a moment's glance so they can just look through all the pictures really quick. Another thing that is appealing to people is maps. So if you have maps in your book or any illustrations, you want to take a picture of that. So I have that one. And then I have this picture, which could appeal to World War II buffs and whatnot, because this is from D-Day. And then this one actually had a cool fold-out map, which I haven't seen in any older books like this. I normally only see it in fantasy books that are like newer, so I was actually pretty excited and stoked to see that. Other things that you want to get photos of is any damage. So I know this is really faint to see, and it's always annoying, is there's a little embossing right here in the bottom right corner of this page. And then the binding is actually splitting a little bit here, which is pretty common on the first page after the thing. So right here, this page basically, it's pretty common for it to pop loose a little bit, but you want to take pictures of it anyways. There's a little stain here, so you want to take pictures of all the damages you can, and you also want to get a picture of the title page, because that's what everyone wants to go for, especially if it has a cool picture like this one has. And you always want to get a picture of the copyright, especially if you are saying that your book is a first edition. This will matter to the people a whole lot. So as you can see, it doesn't say first edition here. Oftentimes, it won't say first edition. It'll only say the printing date, and you'll just have to know that it is a first edition. You'll have to assume maybe. But if it says reprint or if it has a couple years on it, you might not have a first edition. If it says reprint, you definitely don't have a first edition. So there's that. And again, I don't have a year on this copyright page. So that means that the year on this title page is actually the correct year. So 1953. And you always have to use your brain a little bit for some of the years. So like with this being the Rommel papers, Rommel was World War II. So if there was a weird year and it was like something 30 years off, it's like, oh, maybe something's weird there, so you might want to do some research. But basically that's what you want to get pictures of. Sadly, you can only get 12 photos up, so I could have gotten one more picture of the damaged page or something like that. You want to be very frugal with the pages that you put up, so that's something that you want to keep in mind. So on to the next part. Hold tight. Alright, so next up we have the item specifics. So you don't actually have to fill out item specifics, like 90% of them. So don't stress over it if you don't have all the information. It's really not that important. All your information should be addressed in your title of your thing, your listing name, and also in your description, but you'll still want to do it sometimes. eBay will actually keep on annoying you and say, recommended item specifics, add these, da-da-da-da-da. It will keep on bugging you if you don't have them, and if your book isn't selling, you can always add them. So just for the sake of this thing and doing it right, I'm just going to fill out some of the information. So topic is World War II. There's a lot of topics. Basically, if you start typing, it should auto-populate with the right things. Publishers, Collins. With the newer old books, it should automatically have some of the publisher names, but if you have a really old book, it won't have the publisher name because sometimes these are the only things left from some of these publishers, so eBay doesn't even know they exist, which is sort of pretty cool. So author name, let me just fill that in really quick. So looks like, well, obviously the name is author's Rommel, so do I want to do it? No, I'm actually going to skip that because it has quite a few things. It has several names, not worth my time. So as you can tell, it's definitely something you can choose to do or not. Special attributes, so if you have a dust jacket, that's something you want to do. If you have collectors, if it's signed, that sort of stuff. Another thing that you really want to do, so remember the embossing that I told you guys about earlier in this book? So that embossing, it is actually from a library. So it says Library of RMC, which is, oh, actually it's someone's name. So it's not ex-library. It's someone's personal thing, so I don't actually have to say that. But in the description I will. Subject is history, so you can add military history, stuff like that. This is fine. Language is semi-important, not that important. So I'm just going to leave that. Additional stuff is basically the most useless stuff out there, if you ask me. So I'm just going to skip on by. This looks good. So with this modified item, so it'll say yes or no. So if I say yes, it'll let me say what these modifications are. So if it's signed, that sort of stuff. Mine is not really modified, so I'm just going to leave that. And region of manufacture is another thing, but place of publication should basically answer that question. So that's all of that. So now onto the item description. So a lot of people actually have, for their item descriptions, they have this whole thing of, oh, I'm just going to copy paste this and this and this and this and this. So when I had an Amazon FBA business where I would just get a whole bunch of brand new books and sell them, or used new books and sell them, the copy paste thing really worked well because, I mean, there's only so many conditions that a newer book can be in. But as I said earlier, antique books, they have 70 years of history into their condition. So, I mean, yeah, there will be some similarities, but, I mean, books are very different. Like, one might have a stain in the bottom right, one might have a stain in the top left. And as I said earlier, readers really do want to see, and collectors really do want to see specifics on your particular book. So I find that the value that you add by simply listing things out specifically to the book, I find that really helps. So first thing that I like to do, and I'm going to have bullet points probably in one of these corners depending on what side I'm on, but I'm going to list out what I like to list off in general. I don't list off all these things all the time, but I generally try to get to all of them. So the first thing that I like to hit is the condition. So if the overall condition's great, I like to say it's great, or if it's great for its age, I like to say great for its age. If it has the pages coming loose, if the binding is tight, if it's been repaired, that sort of stuff, I want to list off overall condition. I also want to be sure that I list off the page condition. So are the pages bendy? Are they like basically like a new piece of paper? That's something people will want to know, because if it's basically as bendy and nice as a new piece of paper, they know they can read it. But if it's a crumbly, really old book, it's like, oh, I don't want to read this. It's a cool shelf piece, but I don't want to ever read this because I'm going to damage it. So that's something you want to do. There's also tight binding. So tight binding is when the book like is brand new or almost brand new. Like if it's unread, it'll have something called tight binding, which means that it's like you'll only be able to open it like this far before there's some like resistance. That's tight binding. You want to mention if the binding is secure, though, like if all the pages are secure. And I'm sure I'm using some of these words wrong. I'm sure there's correct verbatim for antique book people, but we're not big antique people. Myself, I'm not a big fanatic that knows all the words. I'm just here rescuing all the books I can and getting paid as I do so. So I know I'm doing some stuff wrong, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say if I'm doing something wrong in the description, because I really want to hone my craft further. I mean, I've been doing it for years, but I can always get better. But yeah, so overall condition is something you want to list off. You want to maybe put in some keywords, so you could say this is a German or Nazi World War II generals papers, because it's a military strategy book, stuff like that. You want to mention all these keywords because eBay is very keyword driven, unlike say Google used to be, but now it's less, which is just boring SEO stuff, so I'm gonna leave you guys out on that. So Once you get all that done, you also want to mention the cover, how it looks, how it feels, that sort of stuff. Basically, all this stuff is just condition stuff. And let's see. Oh, and something that I personally like to add at the very end is feel free to contact the seller with any questions or comments or stuff like that, because you'll actually get a whole lot of sales because you show that you're available and that you care, that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to go in and type this stuff out for you guys. So I'm going to do it on camera so you guys can see. So overall, book is in great condition. So I'm just going to write book is in overall great condition. And on top of that, I'm going to just flip through again really quick. So there is minor wear to the pages, or just minor shelf wear, and wear from reading. So shelf wear is what you'll see basically from someone putting it on and taking it off of a shelf repeatedly. So that's on the bottom corners, it'll be a little chewed up. On the entire bottom edge, it might have some of the color faded a little more. Something that you'll see on older books, this one doesn't have it because I'm assuming it used to have a dust jacket until semi-recently, is a lot of them will have their entire spine is like bleached. It's a little tannish depending, and that's because the sunlight coming through the window, I have a window over there, has been bleaching the spine for all the years it's been on a shelf. So that's something you might want to mention if you're going through all that sort of thing. So that's all of that for that side of things, but I do have one issue. That map that I mentioned earlier, it does have some folds on it. And yes, I know it's a folded map, but there are some extra folds on it, and there's also some printing errors, that sort of thing. So I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see this. Sorry about that being weird, but as you can see here, there's something that looks like a page got cut out, but it actually was not. That's a printing error sort of thing. Either that or it's from a book repair. So you have to be a little wise to how books are repaired sometimes. So I'm just going to look a little closely. Okay, so as you can see, maybe see, probably wouldn't be able to see. Sorry, I'm doing this live as I go. So there is a little indication that this could have been a book repair here. Actually, no, it's not. So it looks like that little piece of paper I was showing you guys is actually what they used to secure the whole fold-out map, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you can figure that stuff out, and sometimes you got those weird things with the books. So I'm not going to mention that at all, but I am going to mention that the fold-out map, which is pictured, has a few folds on its edge where it was folded improperly when the book was closed. Yeah, I know it's horrible to watch people type, so sorry for that. So those are all the wear conditions for that side of things. However, for those of you that are well aware of what I've been doing, you guys remember the embossing that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to mention that book came from someone's personal collection, and they have an embossed let's see, how am I going to mention that? That's the funny thing with some of these antique book things. It's like, how am I going to put words to this? And they have their name embossed on it, and their name is embossed on it, so that's what I'm going to go with there. Minor staining on some of the first pages, and the I'm actually not going to mention the split pages because I have it pictured, so, and because they're so minor, but if it is a big thing, you do want to mention that the pages are splitting away from the binding, that sort of stuff. So for this one, I'm just going to leave it there. So minor staining on the first pages. And I'm going to hop back up here because I actually forgot something. And you always want to mention the pages as early on as possible. So all the pages are clear of any markings. And by clear of any markings, I'm referring to pen or pencil, because people do write in their books a whole lot. I don't personally like it. It like kills me, but people do that. So you want to mention that it does affect the value. If it's a really old book, it might not affect the value as much because there are so few of them, but it definitely can affect the value big time. So all pages are clear of any markings, are all accounted for, and are all present. Oh, sorry, and are all firmly secure to the binding. So you always want to give that a quick read over again, so I'm just reading over it. Because it's the internet people don't like reading big blocks of text, so I'm just going to break things up here with that. So you have one that's just the cover, one that just outlines the cover stuff. You have one that outlines just pages stuff, and then sort of like a more interior, deeper look into things. So that's everything I'm going to list off there, and then I'm just going to add my little personal note thing of feel free to ask, contact the buyer with any questions. And as you can see, this is actually one of the more time-intensive things, because you actually have to go through the book. You have to look for these specific things. You want to be sure that the book's perfect, basically. You want to make sure that you list off everything, because if you don't list off those things, you could get bad reviews, because the buyer can be like, oh, this wasn't mentioned, this is a big issue to the book, or the book is exactly as mentioned, which will get you a 5-star review. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. So that's item description. So I'm moving on to the selling details. So format, fixed price. You can do auction style. I have not had like any luck whatsoever with auction style. I've lost money on a couple auctions, so I don't really understand the point of them. I know of a lot of people that make a lot of money with auctions. I don't understand how they do it personally. Like, I don't know. So I do fixed price like exclusively. Duration is good till canceled. You used to be able to have it not be that, but now it's that. Your price, so buy it now price. So I recommend keeping open the thing that you grabbed it from. So remember, it was $24.99, but there's also the options for a whole lot more money. So there's the $40 one, and then there's the $40-something one. So I'm just going to open this one again really quick, the $25 one basically. And I'm just going to go down to their description. Sometimes they don't have the description, which is always annoying, but I'm just going to look at it. So hardcover, in good used condition, binding front pages coming apart, inside paper is yellow. So that's what they wrote. And that's something that you want to think about. So I'm sitting here like binding front pages is coming apart. So mine sort of is, but it's not quite. So I'm a little torn on that. But I think that their condition is very comparable to mine. So I'm just going to hop on over again. And so they're asking $24.99. So I'm going to ask for $24.98. Let's just underbid them by a penny. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And unlike Amazon, it's not going to make you hop to the top of the pile. But it is going to make it so your book's a little more competitive with everyone else. So I'm personally tempted to go a little lower than that. Let me just think for a second. So this person's got $4, but it's bidding $14 here, but theirs looks like it's really ratty, and it looks like it's paperback. So I'm just you know, I think I'm going to go for trying to push the sale a little faster. So instead of that, I'm just going to go down to $21.99. So it is a good drop down from what everyone else is asking for this particular one, but it's more in line with the other people that are asking for the one with the dust jackets. So I think that's fair. Best offer, you want to have that available. As you can see here, eBay says that it does increase your chance of it selling. Personally, I've had a lot of good luck with, I've had a lot of good luck with books selling more because I have a buy it now or best offer option. If it's just buy it now, I haven't had them sell as often. So that's something you want to do. You can automatically accept or decline offers. So I automatically decline if it's too low, which is just absolutely annoying. Like if you have a $50 book and someone offers you $1, it's like, I want to slap you in the face. So I have automatically decline stuff set up. So I'm going to automatically decline if it's lower than 15, let's say. So quantity, that is another thing. If you have 5 of the same book and they're all in the same condition, you can do that. So I have 1, so I'm going to leave it at 1. Payment options, require immediately a payout. Return options, so I don't offer shipping returns because it's just an unneeded thing in my opinion. There is a value to having returns. It does give you some credibility, but I'm personally not going to do it because I haven't done it. So domestic shipping, so calculated cost varies on buyer location. So you want to select medium mail, and if you want to have free shipping, you can just click the free shipping thing right here. I don't offer free shipping for any books that are lower than maybe $300. If it's over that, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll pay for shipping because you're paying this much. But anything lower than even $100, it's like, you can definitely cover shipping. So I offer local pickup on every single book because it has actually gotten me quite a few sales. And I've driven probably 50 miles or more to do a local pickup thing because it's just, if I'm making enough money on the book, it's worth me driving down there. And I also am able to squeeze these into my normal book buying trips. So for one of them, I drove down from Portland area down to Salem. And that's a long drive for those of you that want to pull up a map. I mean, it's a pretty good chunk of a drive, but I was going all the way down to, I want to say Corvallis, which is a little further than that. So it was on my way. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll drop it off for you. Are you going to be available Friday? They're like, oh yeah. So that was pretty cool. Handling time, you can put in whatever you want. I like doing 3 days because 3 days is like my sweet spot, and it has really ensured that I like have enough wiggle room to drop off the book when I can. Dropping your book off immediately does help your eBay stuff a lot. eBay likes it when you drop off all your books like the same day, but 3 days is fine. You can go all the way up to 30. I wouldn't recommend doing that. That'd probably make people very angry. Handling cost is something that's new. And I personally like to add handling costs now. I used to not do it because it wasn't an option initially, but now I do it on every single book. So I like to do $2 just flat because it just helps ensure that I am able to cover the cost of my box, of my shipping, and of the little bit of time that it takes for me to basically pack the book and wear and tear on that sort of stuff. So handling costs $2. No one's really going to notice. $2, you can ask for a $100 handling fee if you want to be mean, but $2 isn't bad. So next up is international shipping. As you can see, I do not have this checked, but if you have it checked, you get options. So there's that sort of thing. I'm not going to offer it because I do not like offering it. So just going to leave it unchecked. So package, weight, and dimensions. So that's the next important thing. I'm actually going to stop the video right here so I can get those dimensions. So I'll be right back. Alright, so this little bit is going to be on big screen because I don't want to have it with just a little screen share because this is sort of important to see everything. So I have my book right here. I have 3 different size boxes for my business. So I have a small box. I call it Indie because that's just how I have my filing for boxes. I have them in a few different categories. So I have Indie, then I have Tiny, and Tiny is... let me just see the dimensions really quick. It's basically 12 inches by 8 inches, so 12 by 8 by basically 5. So that has been really nice for me as a size. Indie is a really nice size as well. Those are my 2 most popular sizes, I'd say. Sorry for the noise there. Those are my most popular sizes that I use. And then I have a larger box. I call it medium because I have used a large one, which is absolutely massive and weighs a ton when you're filling it with books. So this one is great for sets of books. So like you see on the top shelf right there, those are sets of books. Several of those will only fit in something like this. Sometimes you'll have to use several boxes and ship with several boxes. I will have a video on that in the future. So those are the sizes I use, and when you are preparing your shipment, I highly recommend that you actually grab the actual box that you want to ship it in, and you put the book in there. So as you can see here, the book goes in and it has some wiggle room. That is exactly what you want to have. You don't want to have a ton of wiggle room. You want to have it so it fits as well as it can. Of course, you could buy a different box for every single book and have it so you have 1,005 different boxes, but I have found from my, almost 5 years of doing this, maybe over 5, I don't know, but my years of doing this, I have found that just 3 different sizes works wonders. The 4th size I actually discontinued using because it was part of the Amazon FBA, and that was when I had to ship in like 200 books. So I'm not shipping 200 books anymore, so just the medium size that I mentioned earlier works great. So just have 3 sizes. I have my recommended ones on my Facebook page, which is linked in the description below. Sorry for the slur right there. I just can't talk sometimes, especially for these long videos. Trust me, guys, it kills you doing long videos. So anywho's, you want to get back to your book, see the wiggle room. For this one, it has a flap, so you want to put in the flap and make sure that there's still some wiggle room. Sometimes this flap actually does ruin things, and it has it so if it was a tight fit, it no longer fits, so you want to keep that in mind. When I ship this book out, I will be wrapping it in butcher paper. I have a nice little way that I wrap it, so I wrap it all up, and then I put the tape on the back. I don't tape onto the book, I tape onto the paper. Do not tape on the book. That is a big, 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 big no-no. Collectors will probably show up at your house and burn you alive. I will help. Not really. But yeah, be sure to tape onto the paper, not onto the book. Not onto the paper of the book, onto the paper that you're wrapping it in. You might even want to not use tape. You can just wrap the book and then use twine on it. I've used that as well. I found that the tape is a lot easier for me to do and a lot faster for me to do, and no one has complained. Everyone enjoys it. The butcher paper I use, I have recommended one. Man, I can't say that word today. Again, in the Facebook thing, that list of things is what I use, or things like what I use. Honestly, if you could get a thicker butcher paper to wrap your books in than the butcher paper you use to pack, because I use butcher paper as my packing as well. I have two different kinds. I have a thick one that I wrap the book in, and it's a nicer quality one. I find that the nicer quality one just is so much nicer to wrap the book in because the person gets it and it feels good. The cheaper butcher paper, it just doesn't have the same feel. It doesn't have the same panache. So I like to have the nicer one and the cheaper one. Cheaper one you just crumple up and put in. When I'm packing, I will have a video on this later, but I like to put in some paper in the bottom, then my wrapped book, and then I pack in around that. So that's how I like to do it. And because I'm using all that paper, when you are weighing your book, so be sure you weigh your book in the box onto your scale. It's nice when you get a shipping scale to do it with, so much faster than just a bathroom scale. So I recommend that if you are planning on doing this business any amount of time. Again, that's a link in the Facebook page below. So I recommend weighing it in box. And so this book with the box was about 1 pound and about 8 ounces. A pound is 16 ounces, so that's 1.5 pounds. And I am not expecting on putting in a whole half pound of paper, so I am able to sell this book. And for the shipping, I'm going to be able to say 2 pounds, because they do it by pound for media mail. So if it's 1 pound, it charges you for 1 pound. But if it's 1 pound and an ounce, they'll charge you 2 pounds. So you can just do your listing at the different pound weights. So that's just a pro tip right there. Be sure you always have a little bit of wiggle room. And if you overcharge for shipping, be sure to refund your buyer that extra shipping. You don't have to. Morally, I think you have to, but there's no eBay rule, I guess. But if you do refund them, I mean, generally people get really happy when you actually are honest enough to repay them for what you overcharged. So I like to message them and be like, hey, I overcharged you $1.20 for this, or I overcharged you 40 cents for this. Here's your money back. And I've always had people really enjoy that, and I've gotten some good reviews from that. So that's just something you might want to do. So back to the listing really quick. See you in a bit. All right, and we're back really quick. So we're back picking up at shipping details. So I just got the weight, I just got the dimensions. So let's just keep on going from there. So selling internationally, no. Other shipping options, no. You can offer other shipping options. I don't find that is a good thing for when you are selling individual books. But if you're selling sets of books, you can actually offer different services and other shipping options, that sort of stuff. So more complicated listings mean more complicated shipping if you want. Again, you can just do media mail. If you don't have books, you can't do media mail, which stinks, but books, music, that sort of paper media stuff is accepted, and CDs. So that sort of thing. Onto packing weight and dimensions. So package or thick envelope. Man, talking today. So this is what you want to have selected. There are other options, of course, but this is what you should be using. So your dimensions, I recommend having the dimensions of your different books written down. Like, highly recommend that. I used to have it, so I used to measure it out every single time. So I was like, oh, that's about 2 inches, and just get my ruler, get everything down. So since then, I've just written it down. So the dimensions that you write down is basically the biggest one, your medium one, and then your smallest one. That's sort of how USPS wants it. So for my individual box, it's 10 by 7 by 2. And I know those aren't the exact numbers. I rounded up. That's sort of what they do automatically themselves. So I just decided to cut them out and add that myself. There are maximums that you can do for your books sizes for boxes. Sorry. I can't remember what those are off the top of my head, but USPS does have a maximum, and it's like 144 inches overall for that. So something to keep in mind. Don't have huge boxes, but anything that you use normally should be fine. Then you have your weight. So again, if you have ounces, they automatically round up. So just say the pounds. You cannot round down. So if it's even 1 ounce, you can't round down. You have to round up. So just do that. So that's that for packaging and weight. Sell it faster. You can promote your listings. I'm just going to promote this one just to make it easier for you guys. So later on. So if you hit it, they will have an automatic set ad rate for you. It'll vary between book and book, different categories, that sort of stuff. So you can make it bigger. You can make it smaller. You can also just type stuff in. So 7%. And then it'll tell you how much you'll have to pay at the end. Of course, this isn't exactly how it'll be because there are some variations in what it's going to be. They recommend 4%, so I'm going to do 4% for this. I normally accept their recommendation. So then you can select a campaign. I have no idea what that is, actually. They've had it for a long time. I've never actually figured it out. And then you can offer discounts when buyer pays for more things. I'm not going to do that, but you can do that. And give buyer a reason to buy more. Again, that's just the discount thing. And fees at the end. So if you select all the way back up, this one and this one, that cost a little bit of money, so that should be $4 plus $1.50, so $5.50. As you can see here, $5.50. So that's where those fees are coming from, is all the extras that you select. So I'm just going to unselect those because I don't want those. And there's that. So as you can see, I'm just going through this thing a little bit slower, rereading this really quick. I'm not going to reread it because I already reread it like 5 times. Checking all this information, making sure it's correct as you go. You always want to double check these things because if it's incorrect, a buyer can be like, hey, this is wrong, and give you 1 star. Or actually they have positive or negative, so they'll give you negative. I don't think there's really stars for that. So as you can see, I have everything done. I have my listing promoted, which is really nice. You don't have to pay unless it sells. So nice. And then I'm going to list my item. And another cool thing, though, about eBay is that you can have a certain amount of books listed or other items listed, and they let you have a certain amount for free every single month. For me, I think I can have 250 listings for free every single month, and then on top of that, you have to pay for your listings, and then they also charge you for like when the thing sells. So that's all stuff you want to keep in mind, but yeah, so it's pretty easy. It's there's a harder way. I'm going to have a video with the harder way of doing it, which is what you have to do if you can't find another version of your book out there, which usually means you can charge more because there's no one else selling it. But yeah, that's basically how you list your books. I hope that really helps you guys. There's a lot of cool other things that I have as well, but I'm not going to dive into that in this video because this video is so long already. So if you liked it, please please subscribe, hit the bell icon, that sort of things. I'd love if you guys could comment below, and if you guys could follow me on the Facebooks. Yes, I said it like the old person. So yeah, follow me on Facebook, like, subscribe, all that jazz. So see you guys in the next video.